2024. We have Councillor Archer away and Councillor McCullough as an apology. Table of contents of this meeting is as is. Let's change it this one. Acknowledgement of country. We acknowledge and pay our respects to the Tasmanian Aboriginal community as the traditional and original owners and continuing custodians of this land on which we gather today, and acknowledge elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to everybody. Welcome to a member of the press. Where'd you go?
He was here a second ago.
Welcome to members of the
back here.
Up the back. I think
where I
I didn't realise you'd gone up there. Okay, sorry. I thought you were down here. Can I just remind everybody you need to have your phones on silent and that this meeting is being audio live streamed to our website and it'll be available on the website. Are there any declarations of interest? Councillor Terrett.
Non-pecuniary interest on a closed council meeting, item 3.4, motion on notice, 3.5.1, dispute resolution. The reason being is that I'm a party to the code of conduct matter.
Anybody else? I have to declare item 4.3 in the closed meeting, defamation proceedings update. We don't have to move those, do we? I say every week. Okay, confirmation of the minutes from the ordinary council meeting Monday the 21st of October. Councillor Adams, Councillor Terrett. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. The date of the next council meeting will be Monday the 9th of December. Oh no, what's happening?
And the workshop is next Monday night, the 25th.
Yes, we have
It's
a
only a
workshop.
week.
Yep. Motions on notice by a councillor. There's a motion around the about the Perth General Cemetery, and the officer's recommendation is that council officers prepare a report to be presented to a future council meeting on the maintenance and possible improvements to the Perth General Cemetery. Councillor Terrett's moving that. Councillor Lambert seconding. Any discussion? Councillor Terrett?
Just very quickly, I think we have a duty to remember those people that have passed away and having suitable locations for them. And sometimes it's a matter of going, revisiting, looking how we can improve these sites. I won't go into some of the things that I think need to be done. I'm expecting that would come back in the report. But cemeteries generally are a matter of concern. And as our population moves on, it's also having space for them and long-term planning for cemeteries. And if we can make our cemeteries looking, improving them, I think this is a one way of in trying to address some of the long-term problems. But I think in general, Perth in particular does need some work, and therefore I move this motion.
Councillor Lambert.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, I think this motion will complement the work that's already begun at the Perth Cemetery. We have a very passionate local resident who, for quite some time now, has been bringing different issues from the cemetery to our attention, and I've passed them on through the works orders to the works manager. So I know we've done a bit of work there, which has been really pleasing. We've replaced the front fence. We've replaced some signage and updated it to make it a little bit easier to read. There was an issue with a really large tree along the side there, which was shading and not enabling grass to grow. And, so that's been trimmed back now and repaired. And there was lots of other. I know there's some wanting to have some irrigation put into the site there to help to keep the lawns looking beautiful and lush. And I understand there's some issues there with sand. So there's quite a lot that's already in the pipelines for improvements for that cemetery, which I think are a really great thing. So I really want to thank that community member for continuing to push that as an important issue for Perth and the residents of Perth. So I think this will complement what's already started in that space. So thank you.
Councillor Adams.
Yeah, I think we might want to, the report that comes back might look at if there's other cemeteries in the municipality that we deal with, that we look at it in a futurist way, as Councillor Torrance said, and Councillor Ambert, because they are issues of really important significance when people are dealing with their loved ones. So I think, yeah, we can look at it in a lot of ways, including, you know, the way that we actually structure them as well.
Councillor Brooks.
What I don't want to see happen is a repeat of a few years ago where we did an audit of Longford Lawn Cemetery. All hell broke loose because of the restrictions and the different things that those reports bring out. So I'd hate to think that we're going to go down that track again, because it was a disaster, and all those people that had loved ones in that cemetery were horrified. So I would definitely not like to see a repeat of that again.
Anyone else? To sum up, Councillor Terry?
No, that's all.
I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Councillor, questions on notice. We have received some questions on notice with the answers provided in the agenda. I'll read them out if you wish, but they're in the agenda. I suppose for the people online, I'll read out the questions. What preparations in relation to Christmas decorations have been made for each town in the Northern Midlands? And the answer is Christmas banners will be installed in the townships of Avoca, Campbelltown, Evandale, Longford and Perth. Lights will be displayed on a large tree in Victoria Square at Longford. As an initiative of the Ross Local District Committee, a Christmas tree is being planted at the Ross Village Green for possible future use of lighting at Christmas. Question number 2 is could Christmas lights on or decorations be erected in the trees in Russell Street, Evandale, to give it a more festive feel? And the answer is it can be investigated and reported back to the next council workshop. Question 3, what progress and additional funds are available to be allocated to ensure that the workforce plan is completed in the 24-25 budget cycle? And the answer is please refer to closed council agenda item 5.2, the Northern Midlands Council Workforce Plan 2025 to 2029. Council committees, confirmation of the minutes. Councillor Lambert, Councillor Adams. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Recommendations from those committees. The Cressy District Committee has a recommendation around secretarial funding approval for street banners. The officer's recommendation is that council approves the use of the secretarial funding 2023-24 towards the production of street banners for Cressy. Councillor Goss and Councillor Andrews, you're moving and seconding. Any discussion? Councillor Goss.
Yeah, just about the 4 banners which is named up there, that as we all know, trout fishing is a big part of the Cressy community, and it really is the hub for trout fishing, and has been Brumby's Creek has been a world-renowned fishery for many years, and still is, and spoken around in many fishing circles around the world, not just in Tasmania and Australia. Farming and shearing is very important to the Cressy people. A lot of them have been working on the local community, and they felt that that should be really common to put that something like that on display in the street. They think that they've been really associated with the agricultural community, and Cressy has really been built on it. And today, its success today is really based around the agricultural industry around it. Just a bit of one thing was history on the Cressy Perfect tennis racket. The Cressy Perfect tennis racket, for those people who don't know, the trees from Brumby's Creek, the willow trees, they were harvested, and they cut them down and they took them into Launceston, and they made tennis rackets out of them. So Cressy, the racket was called the Cressy Perfect, and the Cressy Perfect won a lot of very high title games across Australia, and even I think across the world as well. Also, the Cressy racing bike, that was Watley Cycles within Cressy Township, is something else they like to display. The Cressy racing bike, that that raced at Tour de France many years ago, and I think the guy might have got in the top 10 on the Cressy bike, so it's a pretty prominent thing to happen. So that's something that they'd also like there. And also Cressy haven't got a current football side or cricket side anymore, but Cressy is known as the Bulldogs, and they felt that that would be a really prominent thing to have in the main street, the Bulldog emblem to dignify the Cressy football and cricket teams.
Councillor Andrews.
I think this is an excellent motion, and I think it's wonderful to see a local district committee wanting to use their funds in this way, and it's probably a bit of a suggestion to other local district committees. I know a couple of them already do this, that they don't collect their secretarial support and they put that money to things in the community. I think it's a great idea and should be encouraged. And also think that Cressy's suggestions might be taken up at Longford, because the Longford legends, I know with a different hat on my head, have been talking about just this sort of history and wanting to mark it and commemorate it. And here's Cressy already leading the way and doing it themselves. So I think this is terrific to see.
Councillor Adams.
Well, having pulled on the Bulldogs jumper when I was much younger, maybe a bit smaller, I'm very pleased that that the local committee is really doing this, and also looking at the history, the perfect tennis racket, also some willow from my dad's farm went to that, and also I think making some cricket bats as well out of that willow. And of course the Cressy racing bikes, which converted over to having a small motor, petrol motor. So that was the first energy, no electric battery, but so that is a significant part of the history. And I have a bit of knowledge of that because I did receive a phone call early one morning from somebody who had found one of the old bikes, and one of my relatives had registered it, and he had traced it back through Transport Tasmania to me. So it was an interesting tale. Maybe some other time, but a great motion, and I'm really pleased that it's before council.
Okay, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Information items. Can I have a mover and a seconder, then we can discuss them. Councillor Lambert and Councillor Terrett. All those in favour? Oh, no, I did not put that yet, sorry. Discussion time. Councillor Andrews.
Could I ask a couple of questions, please?
Yes.
The Mayor's meeting with Minister Guy Barnett, was that fruitful, can we ask?
We were lobbying strongly for shared pathways and the necessary link-ups between towns. We discussed
A short amount of time.
we only had a few minutes, yes, so it was, but yes, we got right into the discussion straight away and around the high priorities that we're pushing at the moment. I hope so.
Thank you. And the other one was that, you might be able to answer this, but I note that the General Manager met with the Commonwealth Bank Senior Manager. Is that a bad sign?
So no, they were coming through town, and they wanted just to catch up, see if we had any issues. But no, there's no bad news. It was all good news.
Councillor Lambert, did you wish to say anything?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I note tucked away in the tourism and events section, there's a little thing that says participate with the working group for governor's visit. I'm
Yes.
wondering if there's any information you can share about
In February.
governor's visit.
February.
Yes, the governor's going to visit in February and visit various sites, so we're doing the planning now and working with the landowners and the various committees so that we can put on a pretty good show. Yes, and you will all be invited.
And is there going to be, just a supplementary question if I may, is there going to be a lot of advertising around this? So the community, will they have an opportunity to maybe meet the governor or be around some of those events?
There'll be receptions
There will be
that they'll be
yes.
invited to.
Yes, and we have to verify everything by their committees down in Hobart before we can actually make anything public. Yes.
Okay. I haven't ruined anything on it, but it is in the
No,
open
no.
council agenda, so that's okay. There was something else I just wanted to ask. back in February, in our information items, there was a request to the state growth about the pathway, the bike pathway going across the bridge to Longford. That's been ongoing since April,
Yes.
with no response. Starting to get a little bit embarrassing now that we haven't had a response back from them. You know, they've had their election, it's been run and won, and surely the workforce who make these decisions should be able to make a decision from something we sent to them in April. So I'm just wondering whether we can get an update. I mean, the last response was on the 8th of the 11th saying awaiting response.
Well, we
what do we
did
need
have-
to do to get a response from them about this?
Not so much a response, but a verbal response when we met with state growth around the location that we were not happy about with the new service station. We emphasised that shared pathway was of particular concern. It was very concerning that it did look that the progress is not going to be going forward in a hurry. They talked about the various options, and they did not like the option of attaching them to the bridges. But I have had it mentioned to me since from a government official, and it may well be worth us having a look at whether we think it's an okay option. The railway bridges attach alongside of one of those, instead of going on the car bridges, perhaps the railway line. But I don't know if that's going to be okay with Tasrail, because that.
So, Mayor, I think it's time we got something back in writing with some of these concretes. I mean, we can have these conversations on the side of
Well,
roads.
now they've
I
got
was
a new
actually
minister,
there,
that's already been mentioned.
who's now not the minister.
Yes. Yes.
We need to I mean, really, they're being a
We
little
have
bit
seen-
disrespectful to the Northern Midlands community. We need to get some answers from state growth about, some concrete answers about proper plans for taking that bike pathway over the bridge. That just to say that they don't like it, and I was there, I heard it too, don't like it, doesn't mean that shouldn't be the option. There are many, many options that should be being considered, and they should know that this is a very important issue for our community, to be able to connect our communities up in a cycling path. It's a dangerous stretch of road. We've asked continually since February for some consideration about some sensible pathways forward for this. We need something back in writing as soon as we possibly can to progress this. I mean, we've got a federal election coming as well, so I don't know whether that might play a part in any of the parties' thinking.
We're making sure it does.
But it's exactly, and it's something we should be lobbying for, and it's very important to our community that we continue to progress this issue. So I think state growth owe us something in writing.
Acting General Manager.
Yes, we have sent recent correspondence to the new infrastructure minister, and we'll be following that up again.
Yes. Councillor Andrews, did you have your hand up before? Councillor Brooks has now, I see. Yes, Councillor Brooks.
Just following up from what Councillor Lambert said, so when you met with Minister Guy Barnett, you did emphasise about that link up between Longford and Perth.
Absolutely. Every single.
And what was the response from the Minister?
They take note, but we want action. We need to have action. We need to know that it's going to happen, and nobody's committing to anything.
So he just said, we'll take note. Is that all he said?
Pretty much at the moment.
He did say that he was going to respond to us, but then he's not the minister anymore.
Yeah, he's not the
so
minister.
I
Yeah.
don't know whether that still holds any sway.
So if he's not the Minister, why talk about it then to him rather than...
To everybody, absolutely every politician that comes near us, we
Who's
lobby
the new Minister now for that?
for infrastructure. Minister Vincent, the ex-mayor of Sorrel, Kerry Vincent, and we're hoping that we'll have.
Maybe he's the man that we should be talking to, not someone that's got nothing to do with it.
Well, he was the minister at
Yeah,
the
he
time.
was, but he's not now.
Yeah. But we firmly believe in lobbying every single politician that comes near here, so they're all aware of what our main needs are.
Well, I understand that, but we need to be lobbying the right people.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Councillor Goss.
I will mention one other thing. I know that we're talking about a shared path, but the thing that we see daily where we've got the local pickers walking the train track and the train bridge. That's just a disaster waiting to happen. And that's something that we really need to get the message across to somebody, because that's going to be quite a very serious mishap if something goes wrong there.
Councillor Andrews.
Just one last question. On page 29, the top 4.1 Main Street upgrades, Campbelltown, Longford and Perth, we say as the final course of action that we're finalising the tender documentation and working through state growth requirements, another state growth matter. I know Campbelltown, for instance, has been asking and waiting for a long, long time now, Campbelltown District Committee, to see the final plans for their upgrade. What does that actually mean? What stage does it mean that we're at when we say we're working through state growth requirements?
We're waiting for a permit at the moment. We're very close. I don't know whether Trent would like to just give us an update where we're at, but it's getting very close.
Yeah, so the last document specification, plans and key stakeholder engagement plan was submitted to State Growth last Tuesday, I believe. So we're just waiting for the permit to close up, or for them to give us a permit on that. The documents for the main street, the development applications was put out some time ago, and a permit's been received. So those documents are out there in the community.
Well, we've been told as local district committee reps that we were able to tell Campbelltown Local District Committee that the final plans would be shown to them before it actually started happening.
They haven't changed.
Officers presented the final plans to the local district committee prior to the DA, and I believe the works manager did that at one of the meetings prior to the
So there's been
development.
no update since then? So those plans that you talked through, that's it?
Yes.
Okay, I'll pass that message on. Thank you.
Councillor Adams.
The enjoying thing with the animal control, I see where 2 dogs were euthanized. It doesn't tell us reason why, and I was wondering, do we ever have a bit more detail in that report? I see there was 8 dogs impounded and 6 were reowned. 2 were euthanized, so I was wondering why that was the case. So maybe you can take a look at it.
I'm not exactly sure of the details. I know one was a dangerous dog,
Okay.
but I'm not exactly sure. I can check up on that and let you know.
Thank you, that'll be fine, thank you.
Councillor Terry, you seconded that motion. Do you wish to say anything?
No.
Okay, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Is it too soon to start public question statements?
Yeah.
Probably is. Okay, so we'll go straight on to no clean reports. Development services, monthly report.
I'll move the recommendation.
Yes, Councillor Adams. And the second of that will be page 35. And Councillor Andrews is seconding. Any questions from anybody about the monthly report? I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Okay, the next one is the memorandum of understanding, the Cressy War Memorial Swimming Pool and fundraising committee, but they want those particular words taken off it.
They just want to remain Cressy War
Yes.
Memorial Pool.
Yes. Yes, so the officer's recommendation is that the council receives and endorses the proposed memorandum of understanding and notes that the committee will be known as the Cressy War Memorial Swimming Pool Committee, and that any document or reference to the committee will have that name. Councillor Goss? I have a seconder. Councillor Adams? Councillor Goss, do you wish to speak?
Yeah, I'm just like to just talk about the history of the Cressy pools, that the Cressy community first raised the money. They got the donation from the Memorial Fund, which was fantastic, but it wasn't enough to build the pool. So the Cressy community, the land was donated to them. It was the Cressy pool was the old sale yard, so it used to be where they did all the sales, and that's the same as where the Cressy Bowls Club is as well. That was donated to give it to town to get the pool going, and then the Cressy Township raised the rest of the money to build the balance of the pool. I know that my father and Tom Boone went around and door knocked every house in the town, and every house in the town donated money to get the pool going, and it's been a going concern since I think it was about 1963 that it opened. So it's been going a long time, many years, and it's been very successfully run and managed by the Cressy Swimming Pool Committee, all volunteers which have done that, and it's been just to speak about what the pool has done for the community. It's brought the community together, but also what it's done. Cressy's had a few tragedies with young people drowning in the township, and I think since the pool's been there, they haven't actually had those tragedies in the township. So the young people at school and in the community, they can all swim, and they swim well because of the Cressy pool. If the Cressy pool wouldn't be there, we may have had some more tragedy over those years. So I think it does a fantastic job, and I know that the pools in the other townships would do the same thing as well. But I'm 100% behind the Cressy Warmore Swimming Pool Committee, and they've just got, their committee has just gone, we've got the grandchildren of the people that have been on the committee, we've got the children of the people on the committee, they've just continued on for years and years and years and years. And it's multi-generational impact from families there on the town. So, thank you.
Councillor Adams.
Yes, well, having got my 100-yard certificate in Brumbies Creek prior to the Cressy pool, I think it was a great initiative. And it would have been a bit harder turning and swimming back up the Brumbies Creek when the weirs came into it and the hydro. And I think that was the main driver. And there was some very good community people that contacted government and made them fork up enough money to help start, but tremendous support from contractors donating gravel and everything else. And it's a great asset, and a lot of young people learn to swim. And it's a great, it's great to go to Cressy to the pool and go for a dip.
Councillor Andrews.
I'm just a bit concerned about the agreement and the style of the wording of the agreement. I just wondered if I could find out a little bit of history about how we've got to this point. Why was it necessary to draw up a new memorandum of understanding? Was it simply because there's new compliance regulations? Why are we drawing up this agreement at this particular time? Does it come out of our review of committees, or is it just because the compliance regulations have changed?
No, it's come up from the management of the pools last year and the changes in legislation for the child protection and workplace health and safety issues as well. That's the catalyst for the review of the MOU. And the staff have been working with the committee to get an acceptable solution for this, where some of the responsibility will come back onto council. So that's basically what's happened. We are still in the process at the moment of getting an external audit through the aquatic best practice safety systems. So that'll be an audit of that thing. So I'd just like to reserve the right to be able to come back to council again if things change from that. And I mean that MOU, if we need to do that, as part of that process.
So what I understand from that is the request for a new agreement has come from the committee themselves.
No, it hasn't. No, it's come from the staff that was helping the committee run the pools from last year. And after this audit, obviously, the post might change again. So we've gone the hard right and the council's taken the initiative to take over all of the responsibility. After the audit, I'm not saying that the post could change a little bit more, but to get the pools open, we need to have the committee the new MOU to be able to start with councils so the pool is under the responsibility of council, but that may change.
Can I ask one more question? How has the pool committee reacted to those changes in circumstances for them? Were they happy to divest themselves of the responsibility of the new compliance requirements, or were they concerned that they were going to end up as a bit of a toothless tiger just running the canteen?
Councillor Goss would probably be able to answer that better than me because I wasn't involved in the meetings, but I understand that there's mixed feelings.
Councillor Goss, do you wish to sum up?
I think that the committee still wants to have a fair input into the management of the pool. They will be the face of the pool. They'll be there every day, and they'll be taking people's concerns on. They'll get that information, and I think that's what they will be doing. And I think if they feel that it's not working for the community, then I think they'll be quite quickly in letting council know that it's not working for the community. So I do think that having them there as an advisory group or a group to help assist the council in making sure that what the pool is there for the community, I think that'll be fine. But some of the requirements in the new guidelines, they are quite, say, intense, I suppose, and they're not so much complicated, but they've got a fair bit of accountability around them, and I think that's what the council's going to try and make it better for the community, so they haven't got to take that accountability which has got there. So I think that's probably going to be a benefit for the community.
Thank you. I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Okay, we're going to go back to public questions and statement time. That's all it'll be tonight because we don't actually have any planning items. So is there any member of the community who'd like to make a statement or ask a question? And just state your name and you've got 3 minutes.
Planning as well. Can I ask it?
Yes, you can ask it as a question, yes, because we have no planning item. Yes, that's fine. Just state your name and you've got 3
John
minutes.
Izzard, Wellington Street. I've come to defend the council, not to attack it. The roses down the road in Tannery Road. I have written a letter to the Department of State Growth pointing out the strangeness and the curiosity about how the part that's the rose has been killed is exactly where they were going to possibly be doing roadworks. I did get an email saying that the council had accepted some responsibility regarding drift. I had a spraying person have a look at it, and it's very curious. If it was drift, it hasn't affected the lawn all the way along where the roses are. The spray, whatever was used, has hit each rose bush in certain parts, and only that part has died back. There's the rose is growing up in other areas, which suggests that a different chemical other than council was used to attack what I believe to attack the rose garden. So I'm just asking whether the council could look at what chemical they used, because there's a strip where the trees are where they have sprayed for weeds, and that's reacted in a certain way, totally different from the way the chemical has reacted on the rose bushes. The rose bushes have actually been burnt where the chemical has hit, so each bush has got a burnt part. Some of it are totally dead. It's not the reaction you get from Roundup or the usual thing. So the question is, could the Works Department look at it, because our suspicion is that the roses were attacked and it's got nothing to do with council drift. The second thing I'd just like to ask you about is I'm not asking this with any malice or nastiness. It's through frustration and trying to get an answer. There exists a document which was received by the lawyers for the Northern Midlands Council and the lawyers for the Tannery Road developer, which triggered the collapse of the North Midlands Council argument at the TASCAT hearing. This document is referred to as the State Growth Settlement Letter. I've been trying since July to get a copy of this letter. I've made nearly 10 written requests to government officials from the Premier's Department down, and they either refuse to supply the document or ignore the request. To add to the mystery, even TASCAT hasn't got a copy of this document. The very document that caused the collapse of Council's argument is secret. And anything that's kept secret and you can't get hold of, there's something in it which I think is adverse to not only the Council's position but also the communities. So that the letter statement is the crux of the Council's case, and unless we see this statement, we don't know what on earth it is. Is it saying that they can build a road there? Is it saying that the developer is exempt from the cost of that road? Until we see that statement, or at least until the Council, sitting as the local planning authority, sees it, we've got no idea what's going on. So my request is, will either the General Manager release this statement, or can they obtain a copy of it so that we can see what it actually says? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Izzo.
I'll take that notice.
We're going to take the questions on notice. Do you wish to make any comment about the roses?
Do you want me to leave you this?
No.
Yes, all right, that's fine, thank you.
Well, as far as the roses, I believe the council was spraying in the area, and that and we've taken responsibility for that. But I'm hearing what you're saying, and maybe we should double check.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other member of the public who, just state your name? Yeah.
Just further to what John mentioned about the roses, I'm aware that council took responsibility and the roses will be planted. I'm just wondering when that may happen. That's
Works manager.
The works manager might be able to tell me when the season is to
I
plant.
wrote myself a note here tonight, but I just need to check, make sure I've got water, so I can plant the roses any time, as long as I've still got water, and I think Tas Water may have removed that some years ago, so I'll follow.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other member who wishes to, just state your name and the town you live in, and you've got 3 minutes.
Shirley Williams, Perth. I'm here to see, did this come up with a resolution for the trees in Drummond Street?
And do you wish to make a comment about do you wish to make a comment about the trees or what you'd like to see happen?
They need to be removed urgently.
Thank you very much.
Excuse me.
Yes.
We might just let Miss Williams know that we have an item on the agenda tonight
Yes,
dealing
I
with
think that's
the
what,
trees, so,
I think that's what Mrs Williams was referring to.
so we are going to make a decision.
No.
No, that's why I thought from your question, maybe we should just let you know that we are dealing with it tonight.
Councillor Brooks, you had your hand up.
I'll talk about it when we come to that.
So will somebody talk to Ms Williams about what's happening at council tonight?
Is it in open or closed?
That's not open.
It's in open, councillor.
It's on the agenda tonight, so if you'd like to stay, you can, you're quite welcome.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, we've done that one.
So that should,
The reserve garden at Perth.
yes.
Okay, so 14.2, the proposed community garden at Perth. So we're moving to second to discuss. Councillor Terrett. Councillor Terrett. And we need a seconder. Councillor Andrews. Okay, Councillor Terrett, do you wish to speak?
Councillor Lambert was
Oh.
before me.
Oh, no. Sorry, I didn't see you. Councillor Terry.
We don't want to fight over it.
Look, community gardens, people underestimate the worth of them sometimes. It's about bringing people together, and isolation is one of the problems, particularly elderly people feel. It brings families together and actually gives you a reason to be together. And as somebody who does gardening at Clarendon, the main part, one of the big parts about it is actually meeting other people and being able to exchange ideas and so forth. It's isolation, particularly in Perth, is somewhat highlighted. And we have scone time, which was being done by a local resident, and the increasing presence of people who don't have any other contacts. I fully support having these types of gardens around the council, and I could just hope that this is the first of many throughout the Northern Midlands.
As a seconder, Councillor Andrews, do you wish to say anything? No, it's all right. You're there.
Councillor Lambert was the seconder.
Yeah, no, I
Oh.
took your note as a seconder because I didn't see Councillor Lambert's hand. Sorry.
Once again, I just wanted to ask a couple of questions. I think this is a fabulous idea, if it's in the right place for the community and for the council who's going to find a place for it. I was just a bit confused about the mention of another group seeking advice on whether they could go ahead with another community garden, and where council's at in which way we go, or is that part of this discussion?
There was a suggestion for the Perth Recreation Ground, and
Yes.
we found some issues with that. And then because of all the requirements needing a toilet, good soil, blah, blah, then the suggestion was Seacombe Street. We, the council, talked about Norfolk Street at the workshop,
Yes.
but that was just to provide this garden, not for another garden.
Thank you.
And I must apologise for the people who are listening. I should read out the recommendation that's on our agenda, and it's that Council A, note the request by the local group Parents for Climate Change to develop a community garden at Perth, and B, approve the request in principle, subject to the provision of a site plan by the Parents for Climate Change for consideration by Council.
And I just might mention the Norfolk Street, whilst it's a perfect spot, it doesn't have a public toilet, which was one part of the criteria for this garden.
Councillor Lambert.
Thank you, Mayor. It's so refreshing to see something like this come on our agenda. It is really great. It's wonderful for Perth. Another example of how the community of Perth are coming together and wanting to be able to share things like gardening together. But this group in particular is also quite interesting because they are parents of climate change. So their focus is teaching the younger generation. This is an Australia-wide group, by the way, so they're not just so they belong to a bigger connected kind of community. So they're looking at wanting to be able to use it as a resource, to be able to encourage healthy eating and to learn off each other and foster that self-sufficiency, which I think is fantastic, to be able to have an opportunity to do that in our community. So I am so excited by this. I think it's a great opportunity. I don't know, through the Mayor, do I ask the Works Manager? They've talked about the rec ground not being appropriate, but Seacombe Street Reserve, have they been approached about that yet, or are we waiting until we see what happens
Just waiting
tonight?
and see what's going to go on.
Yeah.
Said the football ground, which is plenty of land around the football ground, but there's no public toilets. To go into it, in the toilets, you actually got to go into the building. Unless you build your toilet.
So Seacombe Street sounds perfect. Seacombe Street sounds like a perfect alternative.
So water's abundant, of course, got plenty of water, irrigation, and just the location. In the attachment, you see there's probably about 6 different photos. Don't really know how big it's going to be, so whether it's going to be on the toilet block or does it need to be up the top of the ground, until we get sort of a plan of what they want, then we can have a bit of a look overlay of it.
Okay, so that sort of, leads to just remind us of how important that Seacombe Street Park area is. I mean, we fought really hard to get a toilet facility there. We fought really hard to get adequate shade there. And with groups like this, perhaps wanting to use that, I think the idea of the shade is even more important now. Groups are gravitating to want to use this space. So I congratulate the group for putting this to council, and I absolutely support the initiative.
Thank you, Councillor Adams.
I just gardening's wonderful, and it's a great way of bringing people together, and also growing things and then cooking them and eating them is a great process in itself, and something that I've always enjoyed in my life. But I do take up the same issue as other councillors about the amount of work in looking after gardens. It's not simplistic, and you need to have people that take control of it, and otherwise it becomes, it can get woozy out of hand. And so, I just mention that in the sense if we have an agreement that we agree that there's somebody in charge and somebody running the show.
Thank you. You didn't wish to make any comments? No? I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Okay, 14.3 is the Northern Midlands Multipurpose Sport and Recreation Complex Funding Application. And there's a recommendation there that Council A receive the information provided on the Australian Government's Growing Regions Program Round 2. B, receive the project business case submitted with the application made to the Growing Regions Program Round 2. And C, endorse or not endorse the recommendation that Council include $1,420,259 towards this project in the 24-25 Council Budget Mid-Year Review, should this funding application be successful, and reimburse the funding allocation over 2 budget periods from capital works programs, the recreation projects. So the money will go back to Council. Councillor Goss.
Yeah, I'm quite happy to move A and B, but for C, I'd like to not endorse that. So, that's what I'd like to move.
I would second that.
A and B. Councillor Goss, Councillor Terrett. Councillor Goss, just to speak to it.
Speaking of that, what the plan is to build another gym area next to the current one we've got. I've spoken to people in the community, and the netball club, they thought that if there was another area there, they would use it, but it's not something they really need to have. They did say to me that they can't afford to pay for the gym that they've got now there, and if it gets bigger and even more cost, that they won't be able to work in that area. So that's one reason. I did ask at our workshop whether anybody had come knocking on the door and saying that we need to have the gym developed, and I shouldn't call it the gym. Can I say the stadium part being developed? Because the gym, that's not quite right, because the gym's the gym. I'm talking about the stadium where they play basketball and the court. Thanks, Councillor Adams. And they haven't got the need for it. We've got no basketball teams knocking on the door to play there. So I just can't see the need there. If I'm looking for development of sport and rec in the community, the thing that we get every year for the last, 6-7 years, longer, that's not right, it's longer than that, is from the Perth, Evandale, Longford Football Club about the state of the pitches in the wintertime. If we're going to spend $1.4 million, on something that no one really needs at the minute, I think we're better off spending that $1.4 million on upgrading those football facilities, because they can't use them when they get really, really wet. Well, they have used them, but it becomes quite problematic. When you've got somewhere like Longford Ground, which you've got about 14 sides playing out of it each week and training, it's nearly impossible. Evandale's the same. They've got about 7 sides playing on it, and Perth must have some. I'm not sure how many teams they've got 2 senior guys, and I'm sure they've got a female side as well, but I'm not sure about Perth. But those things are very problematic, and if we're going to spend that much money of council's money, then we need to put it in things where people need, and that's why I can't support this. I think it's a great idea, and it'd be great if we had need for it, but at the moment there isn't a need for it.
Councillor Terrett.
Just in relation to, I echo some of the concerns raised by Councillor Goss. I also turn to the fact that we are allocating a $1.4 million out of a budget in the coming year, and that means that some things will be taken out of the budget, and that some of those things may be much more critical. Earlier tonight we heard that we needed a shared path, and if this had come in for a shared path between Longford and Cressy, which is $1.7 million, it achieves those same objectives. And I will point back to our health and wellbeing strategy, which we accepted earlier this year. And this is not listed in our health and wellbeing strategy. It's broadly projects, but do I point to the fact that Share Paths is a part of that strategy. It's a $2.8 million project all up. Council is planning to do an extension to the playing fields next to the existing grounds, and that would mean for young people and so forth, that it meets some of those concerns. And I would welcome that if part of that process we even included outdoor netball area in that new development as such. But whilst it would be nice to have this money, I think we also have to look at the needs for other areas and other needs. And to allocate money at this point, at what opportunity cost to the community, I could not go down the track. I found this was an interesting one. In fact, when it first came up, I was a bit surprised there hadn't been ongoing discussions about this with councillors, and other than in the overall Northern Tasmanian recreational plan. But we have on our strategic projects a number of projects which would be much more beneficial to a broader community, and I thank Councillor Goss for moving the resolution.
Councillor Lambert.
Thank you, Mayor. I endorse the comments that Councillor Goss and Councillor Terrett made. I can't support this either. I think just to further add to the conversation, the football ground stuff was an excellent point, and that's something that I'm glad was brought up. But I just think we have too many other competing priorities at the moment. We've got to consider our workforce as well, whether they're going to be able to meet this project if we were successful. We've got Perth Main Street happening at the moment, Campbelltown Main Street in the pipeline, playgrounds and upgrades there. We've got Pioneer Park, Laycock Street, basketball courts, soccer fields and things, all sorts of really wonderful things that we've already budgeted for and that are in the pipelines to be progressed in our community. I just wonder whether we're taking on a bit too much here. And I just think we need to be looking at doing those projects well, get those projects completed, up and running, and so our community can use them. So I think I can't support this one.
No further discussion. Councillor Adams.
Oh yeah, I think I did, when this first came to us, was a bit concerned that there was no background to why, and other councillors have covered the issue of whether clubs have applied for us for courts, etc. It's good to continue to build on our present sports complex, but there are these other competing projects which we really need to give some consideration to, so that they're at the higher level. And there is three grounds which are very much under the pump with the amount of usage, and that could be alleviated on when you play on these grounds when it's really wet. You do clog them up and you do make a lot of mess, and therefore it's harder to get them back to their level. Things like travelling to pathways to Cressy on the agenda a long time, even one to Perth along the river that could be looked at in some time in the future. These are really wonderful things, and if we ever get the pedestrian and bike paths, which I'm sure we will, and won't be set back by a couple of engineers not in wanting to spend the money. So that battle needs to be fought hard. But yeah, it's difficult to support this matter at this time.
Okay, no further discussion. I'll put the recommendation. All those in... Councillor Goss, you wish to sum up?
Yes, okay. Just to mention also, we thank the officers for bringing it to council, because we haven't got this stuff to discuss. It's really important we have these things and see them, and see the opportunities we can do that. So we really thank the officers for doing that. Maybe in the future, I think that it needs to come to council about the state of the grounds, and that's something that we need to look at in the future. So I would like to see that come back to council in the future. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to mention that, yes, it was identified in our regional recreation ground report, and the officers found an opportunity to apply. had to be in within a very short time, so they put it in and then brought it to council. So just on the off chance that you did want to go proceed that.
I'd still like to see the jack jumpers comply. They won't come with the small court we've got. And also, I just let you know that the pickleball was taken off, and that stadium we've got at the moment is just not big enough. But anyway, it is what it is, and finances are what they are.
Just like pump tracks, mate, that
Yes,
come and
yes.
go and, you know, yeah.
Okay, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Oh, okay, 14.4 is the management committees, the review of the management agreement. And a recommendation there that we accept and endorse the proposed changes to the management agreement for the management committees as attached, and council in relation to minute reference 240171 determined not to restrict close associates of elected members from becoming council volunteers and special committee members. And C, the management agreement be sent to the management committees for signature. And D, this management agreement be effective from the date signed by the committee to the 30th of June 2026. And E, a further report be brought to council in regard to future direction of management committees and the assistance to be provided if they wish to transition to be incorporated bodies. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Adams? Councillor Lambert? Councillor Adams, do you wish to speak?
Yes, I'm very pleased that council, that we haven't gone down the track of restricting close associates to elected members. It's wives and families and friends and anyone else to be a part of their community. I think it's pretty old thinking if you go down that. People have separate lives, and because people are live together or are married, doesn't mean that they are not two individual people that do things and do their own things in their community. So, you know, that restriction would have been terrible and would have excluded a lot of people. The rest of it seems to pull it all together, so we've moved it.
Councillor Lambert?
Look, I'd just like to add to that. I was a bit concerned about the restricting close associates as well. I think we have in all of our agendas for all of our committees an interest register where if someone feels that they have an interest in an item, they declare that, they leave the room, that item's being discussed, and then they come back. So I think that helps to alleviate the issue or the perceived issues that may come up there. So I think that covers that off, and yeah, I'm happy to recommend. I'm happy to second.
Councillor Goss?
Yeah, I just got a question about the Cressy Memorial Hall. I don't know if Cressy's got a Memorial Hall. I don't know about that term. They've got a Cressy Town Hall. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes,
I just
that's what we're talking.
That's what we're talking. So that needs to be changed. And Cressy Town Hall have got a committee. I attended the committee meeting about I want to say 8 weeks ago, but I'm not quite. That was the AGM, and they've got a committee, and they've so they're not in recess anyway, so they're still going. But it is called the Cressy Hall Committee, and I don't know if the original hall that got burnt down, well, that was a memorial hall, but I don't think so because the Cressy went with the swimming pool, which was the Royal Memorial Pool, and never associated with the hall.
Councillor Andrews?
I'd just like to ask a couple of questions and then just make a comment. The first question would be, does the new legislation that has sort of brought all this on stipulate that the committees and the volunteers on those committees working with children and young people are subject to the new legislation, not the committees that never work with children and young people? So I'm thinking of our local district committees who meet.
I think the important question to ask is, are they working with children? So if they're not working with children, then they won't need those.
They won't need those tickets, thank you. And the other question is, on this particular matter, how many management committees are we talking about Who are they?
So it's all our recreation ground management committees and our hall management committees, and obviously our swimming pool management committees that we used to have. So yeah, it's
So there's a few of them, it's not
yeah,
a
there's
half
a few.
dozen.
Yeah, and they're crying out for the MOU because the other one had expired, and so that's why we needed to bring it to you so that we can get something out to them. And I'm not saying it's 100% right. As we work through this new MOU, we may have to tweak it a little bit, but it's the best we can get it, and then we'll take it out to them, and then if we need to, we'll amend it.
And my comment would be that, you know, have we, and you've just answered it, have we bounced it off the committees in question? Because my concern about the MOU, and I know that we have to write in legalese and dot every I and cross every T these days for all sorts of reasons, but if I was a committee receiving this latest MOU, I'd be a bit insulted, I think, at the severity of the language. It's confrontational, and it makes you feel as though actually you're not wanted because it's confrontational.
Yeah.
It's hard. And I presume the answer to that is that that's the way we have to write them these days, which is very unfortunate when you're dealing with volunteers.
The only thing I can say is that the MOUs have gone out to the committees, and we've and their feedback is listed in the agenda item, and we have listened to that and made some small changes. I don't know if Ms. Eacher has got any other comments.
Councillor Terrett.
I have a number of concerns in relation to this, and one which Councillor Andrews has just raised, the legalistic aspect of this. These are people who are volunteers, and just the language through this is quite affronting, really, that makes them feel that the obligations are quite hard. There is legislation called the Local Government Act which enforces some compliance, and I do find it strange within the report that these committees could not be fully compliant, because it's an obligation within the Local Government Act that they are fully compliant. And to say that we would require an extra 2 staff to make them fully compliant, I'm sorry, but no other council would go down that same track. I've checked with other councils to find out what they do, and many of the compliance requirements are self-administered, and I find that particularly insulting that these management committees could not be in compliant. The aspects in relation to close associates, I give some direction to the Integrity Commission's report in relation to merit-based recruitment and the perception of nepotism and cronyism. I'd like to think that we don't have that perception, and I think this is something that we should be very conscious of if relatives or close associates are appointed. It's always best to get the best person for the job, even with volunteers. And I'd always encourage the council to try to take a track that we look for the best people, not just those who we may know directly through our associations. Often this could put people off if there are close associates that they don't feel welcome. But I would like to think that we can attract more people to these committees. I am concerned at the number of committees that we have, and maybe we do need to review whether we need all these committees or whether they can be rolled in together, and that's as many other councils have done. I do have some concerns in the proposal to incorporate many of these management committees. Incorporation has with it their own problems as well, and whilst this is to bring further report back to the committee, incorporation does have some problems within itself, and I think before any incorporation is actually even looked at, that the committees themselves be discussed with them, because there are obligations under incorporation that may not be able to be met. If we can't do compliance with local government, compliance in incorporation is much stricter. So I'll be voting against this on a number of bases and raise my concerns.
Thank you. Any further discussion? I'd just like to make comment that some of our committees are already incorporated by their own volition, and that's why that's come up, because they don't particularly want to go to another model. Councillor Adams, do you wish to sum up?
Okay, yeah, I think we've got to deal with, you've got to always deal with history and community and these committees, hall committees and whatever. Many times they've been around a long, long time and have done tremendous work in keeping our communities going. And I think, of course we comply with the Local Government Act, and we should talk to our committees in a fairly decent manner, not too harsh. And if we have to be harsh on the agreement, we should make sure we've got a letter covering the importance of it. And but to sort of say we're going to amalgamate all these, the committees that I know of, and whatever, you can't amalgamate the Liffey Hall Committee with the Evandale Hall Committee or whatever. I mean, these things are entities in themselves and their communities, and they've grown and have been a part of ups and downs all through their life. And sometimes they've been a real part of, money's tight, people get married, everybody brings a casserole, and they're down the hall. And, that's important stuff. To put that down to a real rigid, process of accountability, I think really misunderstands what community is about, and would take us backwards in a bureaucratic sense very badly.
Thank you. I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? What's?
Oh, aye.
Yes. Sorry. Yep. Put the recommendation. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against?
Yes.
Yep. So Councillor Terrett, Councillor Goss, and Councillor Andrews are against. The motion's carried. 14.5, the Campbelltown Hall. And there is a recommendation there that A, council note the costings for the maintenance and restoration of the Campbelltown Hall, and the suggestions for future use of the hall, and B, consider whether to proceed with the sale of the Campbelltown Hall. Move for a second, Councillor Terry,
I'd like to move that not to proceed with the sale of the Campbelltown Hall.
So it's not proceed. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Brooks? Yes?
I'll just make a comment that I have actually got 2 live offers, well, they're not actually offers, but they're interested people at the moment that have come about in the last week. So I'm just letting people know that that's the case.
Councillor Terry first.
And speaking in relation to this, as I make no stranger of the fact that Campbelltown Hall is important, and as a councillor I believe that community assets such as this should be retained. This is a part of the character of Campbelltown, and to lose it to an organisation, whatever they decide to do, is a loss of an asset that we will never get back. I notice the costings that are being provided, and quite substantial, and some of that is due to the fact that maintenance has been failed to keep up to date with some of the halls. And whilst it is substantial in some aspects, it is something that is a cost that council has failed to pay over the various years. This has now been going on for 3.5 years, and I find it unusual that we didn't have that interest in the initial stage. Increasingly, and it was raised in the recent district committee about the usage of the hall, and one of the comments was that it's increasing usage because the recreation centre is too expensive for locals. Now, that may be a matter of too expensive for locals, and that may be the case, but it also means that people are using that hall for a different usage. Whether it's the markets, whether it's for a ballet concert, it is a different usage for that hall. If it's turned into something as a used furniture place or whatever, that is a loss that this community could not get back without the council spending substantial money in relation to this. It is an iconic, we talk about the Tannery Road Depot, that as you drive into Campbelltown, this is an iconic building of Campbelltown. And a loss or change of that into whatever usage of a private nature, I'd like to think if it was sold, and this was unsuccessful, that the heritage of that building is still retained, and important that the heritage is retained. The community of Campbelltown is, I could almost say, owed a responsibility by this council to keep this building because of its unique nature. It gives a history of Campbelltown going back to that stage. Now, we already have a tenant in this building and we have some obligations to maintain that building as the landlord of that building. And therefore, some of this maintenance should have been done. But getting back to the sale of the Campbelltown Hall, I believe that this is something that should we let this hall slip through our fingers, it's lost forever. And I would like to see that happen.
Councillor Brooks.
Yes, I know. I've been against this for the last 3 years. It's come around a full circle again. Yes, I agree with everything Councillor Terrett says. And yes, the locals were priced out of it quite considerably. Like we've had the football club come to the council and saying that how desperate they were for a remission on their lease because they couldn't afford to pay the charges that council needed to charge them to keep them viable in the competition. You know, so it's priced the locals out of it completely. You know, like Councillor Terrett said, I wouldn't like to see this hall just disappear into the sunset and we never see it again. 3 years it's been going on. We've had the real estate here. They told us what they reckon it was worth. We couldn't get nowhere near it. We've had multiple offers that have gone nowhere. No one wants to buy it. And now all of a sudden tonight we're here, when it's on the agenda, we've got 2 potential people that have made an offer. So, you know, have we got an offer on paper or have we not? I'd just like to retain the hall, do the maintenance and leave the hall alone to the Campbelltown community to find uses for it.
Oh, only that the offers are not in writing at this stage, but they're obviously interested parties. They've actually been through a couple of times.
Councillor Goss.
I'd like to foreshadow a motion that we do proceed with the sale of the Campbelltown Hall.
Councillor Andrews.
There's always 2 sides to a story like this. I understand what the Campbelltown Hall has meant to that local community, but I've also had feedback from that local community over a long period of time, going back to my journalist days before I became a councillor. And when it was put to the community quite some time ago, okay, we've got a hall and we've got the new sports centre on the footy ground. It's going to be very difficult to maintain too. We're thinking that we'll put it on the market because hopefully we can find a good use for it, which will retain the hall as it looks, you know, and we won't destroy the look of the hall, and hopefully it becomes a community asset that way, rather than trying to come up with the money to maintain the hall, which was already in quite bad repair. So that conversation happened with the community a long time ago, and the reaction to me since then from community people has been, let's get this done and let's find a good outcome for our hall that will see it into the future. If we don't sell it, if we take it off the market and we spend, well, you know, $1 million updating it, will there be a use for it? Campbelltown people will have to come up for a use for it because with respect, I've looked at the figures for usage over the last little while and there hasn't been a ballet concert there for quite some time. And the only people using it are the little history group, which council has said they will move, and Service Tasmania. So if we don't sell it, the local community hasn't wanted to use it for 2.5, 3 years that it's been on the market. So the local community will need to come up with a use for it if we don't sell it.
Any further discussion around not selling it? Oh, yeah, about not selling it. Councillor Adams.
Well, the motion, I think I'll speak to the motion. Yeah, well, first of all, nobody's talking about knocking down this building, so it's a nonsense to have that in this debate. And, I pick up that we're going to subsidise the locals to use this building because, it's about purpose. And nothing tonight has been said that there's a purpose for this building from a council perspective. And it's going to sit there. We spend $1 million on this building and then there's still nobody using it. There's 900 people in this region that we're talking about, and we've spent $4 million on the complex at the sports centre, which is, there's offices there, there's a very good meeting rooms and whatever. So now the pricing, we sorted that out with the footy club and they seem to be going quite well. But we must find purpose. If you're going to keep a council building, you must have purpose. And the purpose has changed now. Campbelltown has changed as a town and as a community. And, in the next 10 years, but what is the purpose? There's been a lot of opportunities for people to be able to come forward and say, we'd like to do this, but nobody's been able to. So we've got a situation where people have run on a political campaign to save this hall and now continue to want to do that, but can't come up with a purpose. Can't say that we spend $1 million of ratepayers' money on this hall and, I've saved it, so I can run around and say I've saved it in a political sense. Nonsense stuff, not good decision making. Purpose is what we need for the hall, and nobody's come up with a purpose. And so I think we should continue with selling it as we decided 3 or 4 years ago and endeavour to find an outcome which will be in the interests of that community in the long term. If somebody can't afford to meet in the football club areas or in the sports complex, then let's have a look at that as an issue.
Councillor Lambert.
Thank you. I have been against the sale of the hall as well, and my main reason has always been in regard to Service Tasmania. Now, I know they have a new contract, however, we have not been able to find them anywhere to go either. And I've asked this question along this journey, have we got somewhere for them to go? And the answer has always been no, but we'll find something. But we haven't. And they have been my big concern. In our community, we need that business to stay there. They're central to the Northern Midlands and to that area in the southern part of our Northern Midlands. I won't be supporting the sale at this point in time. However, given the fact that Ms Bricknell has just tonight mentioned that there are two people or two groups interested, I'll be voting not to proceed at this point in time. But if they're going to come up with a credible offer that they want to put to council, I don't see there's any reason why that can't come back to council at a future time for our consideration. So, but at this point in time, I don't support the sale of the hall because we have no credible options to sell. There's nothing, there's no one to sell it to. There's no credible options. So Service Tasmania is one of my priorities, and we need to keep that business and that service in that town. It's very well used. We don't have anywhere to take it at this point in time, so I believe it should stay there, absolutely, and that we don't proceed with the sale at this point in time. However, if a credible sale, and I mean credible, not just we might be interested, they have to have something on paper that we can actually look at, then I would look at that in the context, but not at this stage.
Yeah, no, there's certainly two strong interested parties, and they're new, like they haven't been before. So yeah, I'm happy to. I was hoping to have some more information tonight, but unfortunately I haven't, and happy to bring that back if the situation changes.
Now, you foreshadowed a motion. Do you wish to speak to this motion now?
I'll speak to the motion which is on the board, yeah.
Okay, yes, before councillor Terrett sums up.
Yeah,
Before you do, can I just suggest that we have always assured Service Tas that we'll either negotiate with whoever purchases so they can stay there, or we will find them a home. There's no point in looking for a home until
But
we know
with
what's going to
respect,
happen.
Mayor, the people, if anyone ever does come along to purchase that, they may not want them
That's
there.
true, that's true.
So
That's when we look for
need to
those.
look out for that, because it's a very important, you know,
Two or three
business.
buildings for rent.
Yeah. Okay, councillor Goss, you haven't spoken to this motion.
Just the motion on the books, on
Yes.
the board there tonight, if I support that, then what that says, not to proceed with the sale of the Kemble Town Hall. So what that's telling the general manager is to ring up the two people that are interested and say, no, sorry, we're not selling the town hall anymore. So I don't think we can support that motion on there. That's why I foreshadowed the motion that we, in a moment. So we cannot support that motion which is on there, because that would stop anything else we can do.
Councillor Terrett, would you like to sum up?
Yes, I would actually. The fact is that this building could be knocked down. I hope it would never be, because there's no heritage protection on this building. The community of Campbelltown is owed this as a point of order.
Excuse me,
Trying to
councillor
speak.
Adams, please be respectful. Councillor Terrett speaking.
The Campbelltown community has, between the central part of Tasmania, this is one of the very few halls in the central part of Tasmania that could be used. If it was properly maintained, part of the reason why people haven't been going there, because it's been getting into such bad condition. And if properly resourced, if we use some grant funding from the Australian Growing Regions program, which also is available, we spent over $4 million on the Longford Memorial Hall. 3.1, I was just corrected. And we're talking about having facilities for Longford. Campbelltown is in the centre of the state and is a good meeting area. Already, the Campbelltown Recreation Centre is being heavily used, and there is increasing demand. And therefore, we should keep it as a community asset for the communities of Campbelltown and the Northern Midlands.
Okay, I'm going to put the recommendation. Those in favour? Those against? Aye. So myself, councillor Adams, councillor Goss and councillor Andrews are against. So the motion's lost. Now there's a foreshadowed motion coming.
I foreshadowed the motion that we accept A, and which is note the costing for the maintenance, so we that one there, and B will be proceed with the sale of the Campbelltown Hall.
Have a seconder for that motion. Councillor Adams. Councillor Goss, do you wish to speak to it?
Just waiting for the motion to be changed to proceed with the sale of the Campbelltown
We
Hall.
put the motion
Is that it?
To proceed, yes.
Yeah, that's good.
Councillor Goss.
The reason why I'm supporting this, the motion was on there, that would have put a stop to to anything could happen there. We'd have to come back to council and look at it again in the future. There's more time. The Campbelltown community accepted a long time ago that the hall was going to be moved on, a long time ago. This council has been very strong in communicating with the Campbelltown community, and they've been very thorough in their consultation down there, and what's going to happen with the facilities that use it now on the town hall. They've been thorough with that. What we want to see is the hall being used, and the best thing to do for that is have private company take it over and do something with it and use it. It hasn't been used in the last 3 years, and it hasn't been probably sold, and we've got to think about the impacts of COVID on that, about where we've been there, and I think that it really is a consideration here, because times haven't been quite normal in the last 3 years, and I know it's easy to say that it's been 3.5 years, but you've got to think that 2 years of that was a COVID time, and it wasn't a good time for everybody to go into business and starting stuff off. I think this is a way to bring some investment into the town, and I think if the right people can get this building, and they can embrace the building, and I think that they will be able to take the building in Campbelltown forward. I do think about the questions, the comments about not enough buildings on the town. I mean, when I think about council owns the old Scout, Girl Guide Hall, that building's not being used all the time. That's empty. At the so that's another area which can be used for meetings. Also the showground hall. They've got a beautiful hall at the showground, and that could another place that could use for meetings. So there are facilities on the town that I'm aware of which are probably underutilised, and so there are many more opportunities there, not just up at the Campbelltown Hall.
Councillor Adams.
No, I think the debate's been had.
Councillor Andrews.
I'm wondering if the mover of the foreshadowed motion would accept adding a few words to B.
What are the words?
Adding a few words to B, which would be to proceed with the sale of the Campbelltown Hall in the short term, reassess in 6 months.
Yeah.
So mover and seconder happy with that, right? Do you wish to say anything more, Councillor Andrews?
No, I just think that we've got to test the waters with these 2 new offers, but if they come to nothing, we need to have the capacity to come back and look at it again fairly soon.
Councillor Brooks.
Just point of clarification, these offers, as you say, they're not on paper, so there's actually no offers at all, because they're not on paper.
We're not talking about offers on here, though.
Yeah, but Councillor Andrews just said about the offers.
Interest, I should have said interest.
Yeah, there's no offers. But 6 months, so there's no contract. We've got no contract with the real estate at the moment.
No, we haven't. We actually got the property for sale with Elders, and that real estate agent is working with those 2 interested parties.
Okay, anyone who hasn't spoken wish to speak? Oh, Councillor Lambert, yes?
I was not supportive of this foreshadowed motion. However, with the added words, that gives us a little bit of, I suppose, what you call wriggle room to explore and get those offers in writing to bring back to council to be fair.
Okay, I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against?
Aye.
Councillor Terrett and Councillor Brooks against. The motion's carried. So I need to come back here. Right, the Local Government Association, there's a meeting on the 21st of November, and they've got several motions that we need to consider. Let's look into it and go. Yes. Okay, their first, sorry. Yes, I do. Yes, beg your pardon. Thank you very much. Yes, a mover and a seconder to move for the Local Government Association meeting recommendations that they want to have moved. So, yes.
Yeah, obviously it's 6:28.
Oh, yes, right.
Did you want to?
Do trees first, and
Yeah, I just wondered. Yeah.
yes, maybe we could move that. Do we have to move a motion to move that motion in? Right. Okay, I'll just keep. Now I've forgotten we moved it anyway. Now. The boss was one.
Well, I don't
And
think you
get
take
that.
those ones.
I won't take those. Okay, we won't go there.
And we'll come back.
If the council is happy, we'll go straight to the tree item, so that Mrs. Williams can.
No, I'd just like to move a suspension of standing orders so that the agenda can be amended to
I don't
bring
believe
some.
we need to.
Well, it's only an order, the change of order.
Yeah, it's only a change of order, so we're still not going to leave any items out. We're just going to put them in a slightly different order. So we'll go straight to 16.1, the pine tree is located on private property at Drummond Street, Perth, and then we'll break for our meal.
So we've changed the item.
We've just swapped them around. We'll do that item, and then after the meal, we'll come back to this one. We've
So
done
we'll
it all-
go
done it
to
all
item, yeah. We'll go to item,
16.1.
16.1.
Page 81.
Yeah. Yes. Find it. Rightio, there's a recommendation here. Okay, that council A, serve notice on the property owners to commence with the removal of the trees, with the property owner to bear all costs, or B, meet with the property owner to discuss a way forward in relation to the removal of the trees, and C, in the event that the property owner is unwilling to progress with the removal of the trees, that legal advice be sought. Councillor Andrews, you're moving that recommendation?
I'm happy to move this recommendation B and C.
B and C, okay.
Not
That's
A.
Councillor Andrews. Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Brooks,
I'll second it.
yes? So that's for B and C, yes? Councillor Andrews, just to speak to it.
We've discussed this in workshop, and the reason why I'm happy to move the recommendation containing B and C, not A, is that I understand that these pine trees have to go, and for all the reasons that we've talked about in the past, they're dangerous, and the community's really looking for council to do something about it. But I don't believe that we serve notice on the property owner first and then go ahead with removing the trees. I think we should go back to him and see if we can come to an agreement on how the trees are removed before we serve the legal notice.
Councillor Brooks, do you wish to speak?
Yeah, this has been a long, ongoing issue. Even when that road was a highway, there was limbs falling out of those trees onto the road. I've been on council for a number of years, over 10 years, and it's always come up. I've actually been there and had a look at the pine needles in people's spouting and physically seen the damage it's caused to residents along that strip as well. Even as far as a bathroom, seal and exhaust fan, there was pine needles coming out of there. So, you know, for those residents, it's just taken so long. I seconded that motion. I would have liked to have put A in there too, because at the end of the day, they're his responsibility. It's on his land. It's been going backwards and forwards for a number of years. I don't know how it'll end. There's a quote there to remove the trees. I'm not sure who's responsible, whether Mr. Ioannota owns that land or someone else. I'm not 100% sure who owns the land. My question would be if what we talk about overhanging trees, property owners with overhanging trees, and I've had a number of complaints from Longford, just as little as probably a couple of months ago, of a property owner having pine trees up there, and they were filling up the pine needles. But I was told that there was nothing we could do because they own the trees and they've got to actually agree to cut them down. So I think unless we force the issue, we probably won't get anything done, but it's a start. My question to the General Manager would be, what happens if the property owner says that he doesn't want to cut the trees down, he doesn't want to pay for he doesn't want to contribute to it? What happens then? We go and get legal action, go and get legal advice, so we spend a heap more money and probably to no avail. I just want to know how we stand now and why we can't get these trees cut down through public safety. If one of these limbs come out of a tree, they'll actually go through the house on Drummond Street because they're that close. It's all right for us to sit around the table and say, well, it'll go on for another 2 years. But, you know, what happens to those residents when I've actually seen it? I've seen it. Go, call around and have a look. Put your hand in their spouting and see how much pine needles you'll get. I think they have to actually clean them out every 6 months. That's how bad it is. So I'd like to know what happens if he says that he doesn't want to cut the trees down and he doesn't want to contribute.
Am I allowed to answer that?
No, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
And I guess that's why we've got a recommendation C there, is to make sure that we have legal advice that whatever action we take next, if he doesn't want to remove the trees, that we're down the right path and that we can stand by that action.
Why has it taken so long to get to this stage?
Well, I think we've negotiated with the property owner before. It's his responsibilities on his property, and we've even had reports done from an arborist, to provide to him, to make him or to let him understand what the situation is with the trees, but he hasn't taken any action. So it looks like the only way we'll get some action is that council enforce it. And that's where we would need to take legal advice to make sure we're going down the right track.
All right, councillor Terrett.
Yeah, I think we have to look at what we've got here. We've got dangerous trees standing opposite people's properties with cars going down the road. I think all councillors want to see those trees gone, and it's how we can best do that. I don't want to be here in 6-12 months' time still having legal arguments. And there is a point that we need to, if this is unsuccessful, we need to bite the bullet on this. It cannot continue on going on another umpteen years. This has to be solved, and solved quickly. I would hope that this resolution, and speaking with the property owner, may come to a resolution that would be acceptable to all parties. But if it is not, then I think we have to start thinking about public safety and biting the bullet.
Councillor Lambert.
Thank you. Look, there's no, I've brought this motion to council because I attended a meeting with the residents of Perth who have been extremely concerned, and I applauded them for taking this action. And to answer Councillor Brooks, the reason why we are here now is because of those people, because they have fought so hard. They approached us to come to their meeting with their concerns. They want some action. Council's role is to make sure that we get the correct action. We want this solved as quickly as possible. It's been going on for far too long. Can I suggest that we get the legal advice first and then go to the property owner with the legal advice? Simply because if we go to the property owner to discuss a way forward, we know that there are 2 acts that we might be able to use to help us legally as a council. One is the Jetties and Roads Act, and I'm not quite sure what the other one is called, but I believe the other one is the one that might be the one that will allow us to enforce the removal of the trees. So we need to have, and that's what this report was about, to gather all our facts, to make sure that we were in a strong position to be able to enforce, if we can, the removal of the trees. That's what we need to have happen. But we need to get that information first and then go to the property owner. So I don't know whether that requires a change in C to put the legal advice first and then meet with the property owner, or swap them around. I'm not quite sure, but as long as we get that information first, I'm hesitant to delay this any further. So I will suggest to the mover and the seconder if we could put in to get that legal advice by the next council meeting.
I'll be happy with that.
Well, I think, you could just take out that first section in C, that first, in the event that the property owner is unwilling to progress the removal of trees, you just put that legal advice be sought.
Yeah, that's a B. So it's
Actually, no, I disagree. I agree with Councillor Lambert. I think that we should just swap C and B around. So
put the legal
becomes
advice
B and
first.
B becomes C.
Yep.
So we get
is
the-
this a new motion, or are we?
No, it's
No,
just,
just
no,
swapping
it's just
one.
swapping,
Swapping the order around.
swapping the order. So C becomes B and B becomes C.
And you're wishing to leave in the event of the property owner being unwilling to progress the removal of the trees? Or do you just want to take that out?
No, I think this is what Councillor Lambert's suggesting, that we seek legal advice on the process.
First, on the acts, because there is some question about one of the acts.
So there's no
And then meet with the property
in
owner.
order, if you took out that first part until the comma of section C, we don't have to do one before the other. So, so we can, you're giving us
Yes.
authority to do
We're
both.
adding for that legal advice to come back to the next council meeting.
And that's going to stop it going forward if they...
Yeah, that's right. But they'll have to wait for the next
Yeah.
council meeting before they go and talk to the property owner.
Yeah.
They might.
But I just want to make sure that the legal advice doesn't come January, February next year, that we
for it to come back to the next council.
No, we would seek advice straight away, and then we understand what council's intention is, and then if we need to come back to the next meeting, we can.
Yeah, so first of all, councillor Andrews and councillor Brooks, you're happy with? I have to go over that way. Okay. All right, so we've got them swapped around, but so I don't think, if they're both agreeable, that legal advice be sought and meet with the property owner to discuss a way forward in relation to the removal of the trees.
That legal advice be sought before meeting with the property owner to discuss a way forward in relation to the removal of the trees.
Yeah, so when you do meet with the property owner, you're armed with the advice.
You've got your information.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what this
Okay.
was all about, getting our information.
Okay, so you're both happy with that legal advice be sought before meeting with the property owner and meet with the property owner to discuss a way forward in relation to the removal of the trees?
Yeah.
The mover and seconder happy with that? Okay, now it's up to councillor Adams.
I think there's another level in this, which is about the technical report. If the property owner is saying that they're not unsafe, but I think the works manager has told us that he has admitted that they are, but whether he'll do that in his negotiations or not. So you need to say, we can all say that they're unsafe, but we need a technical person to say these are unsafe. Therefore, the ownership of the trees is the responsibility of the person who has to remove them.
Councillor Goss.
Yeah, I'm not so, I don't know if I can support the motion up there, because I think the first thing we should do is talk to the property owner and start that negotiation first.
I'll just let you know, councillor Pegg, you can continue, but that's actually happened, but continue.
Okay. I think that's probably the first thing. The question, I had a couple of questions first. The first question I'm going to ask was that, have the property owners on Drummond Street, have they spoken to the landowner who owns the land? They've done that? Yes.
Yes, we can't ask. No,
Is
we
council
can't.
aware of that?
Yes.
Yes, we're aware
When we
that
went
that's
to the
happened.
meeting, that
Yes.
was something that had absolutely been done on more than one occasion.
Okay, councillor Goss, do you
I
wish
think
to
that's
continue?
important that the property owners give their message
Yes.
to the
They were
landowner.
invited to the meeting as well.
Yeah. I think that's really important that that they've talked to the landowner, so that the landowner is aware how important it is for those people to get those trees removed, and it is important. I just want to just mention we had some trees removed a few years ago, and we got lots of legal advice on that, and lots of legal advice, and we were a long time getting it. It didn't go anywhere. So I'm not really sure about getting legal advice first to do that. I'm not saying it's not going to. It might be important to do that, but if we can resolve it before that, get some people to talk to the landowner and see if we can do it. Tell them what the concerns are. See if we can get there. But that's something we really need to do as soon as we can, because I think that's the best way to get it down as quick as you can. If we go down the legal track, it's going to be built up for years, just like it was in the last thing that we did. It took a long time. So I'm concerned about doing that. I think we should be talking to the landowner.
Was our works manager wish to make a comment?
Yeah, I met with Bernie Inoda approximately 3 weeks ago and had that discussion. And end of the day, he said, yeah, the trees were dangerous. He didn't want to fund it, as simple as that. And had to give permission. I'd have to, if someone's leasing the land at the front there, I'd have to contact them. He'd open the gate for us to want to go in if we want to pay for it.
Everyone's had a say, so councillor Andrews, would you like to sum up?
Yes, I would, thank you. The reason why I've suggested that we deal with this issue in this way and not take legal action against the owner straight off, there's a reason for that. I understand and hear what everybody's been saying around the table, and I know how important this issue is, and I know that those trees have to be removed. I get all that. You know, we're all of the same mind around the table on that because of the meetings with, we know all that. We know how this has been affecting people. And we also know that there's been initial discussions with the proponent. I don't think that we should mention that person's name around the council table, but I understand that there's already been initial discussions with the property owner. My suggestion to do it this way would be that you go to the property owner and alert them first before the legal action turns up, that this is going to happen, the trees are going to come down. We'd like to negotiate how we do that with you. If you're not willing to do that with you, then it's highly likely that legal action will be taken. It's that kind of conversation, that we don't hit him with legal action before we advise him what the situation is and give him a chance to talk about how it might go forward.
Okay, oh, sorry.
No, you're fine.
I'm going to, no, you've already had to say, I'm sorry, councillor Terrett.
No, I just want to ask a question. It's clarifying this. If council does remove those trees, can we transfer the cost across to the landowner?
Well, that's why I need to get legal advice first. We need to work out the best way to do it, because there is going to be a precedent, well, there could be a precedent created, because obviously that's only one set of trees. There is several similar trees.
All right, I'm going to put that recommendation. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. We're going to break for our meal break now, so we'll be on for about 20 minutes to half an hour. So thanks, Jeremiah. Tasmania, 21st of November 2024 general meeting. There is a recommendation there, and if it's okay with everybody, it's just easier to go through each one at a time, or the ones that we need to vote on. A mover and a seconder that we do that. Yes, Councillor Lambert. And Councillor Terry. I just need to cover it. I need to see as well. Helps me to be able to see. Okay, so it's this one here. Councillor Lambert, Councillor Terrett, right.
And do we need to vote? No, we don't
Yes,
vote.
they'll vote for what they want
Yes.
us to vote for. that the council in relation to the Local Government Association of Tasmania general meeting to be held, delegate Mayor Knowles to vote as follows. And we'll vote as follows in relation to, yes, right. The first motion, which we actually should vote for because we proposed it, not this motion here, but we proposed something very similar at the last meeting, that Legat pursue with the Tasmanian Government the following funds received by state government from government business enterprises as rate equivalent payments be in the most part distributed to local government. So I need somebody to say how would they like us to vote. For? Councillor Terrett saying for?
Yeah, no, for, yeah. I mean, this has been a debate in our community for a long time. Hydro assets, you know, the West Coast Mayor will talk about all the hydro dams that he should be getting some rates from.
Yep.
Those sort of things. Yeah.
Councillor Lambert, do you wish to speak? Seeing as how you voted.
No, I was agreeing with what councillor Adams has just said, sorry. Yeah.
And you're happy, Councillor Terrett? Voting for, everyone's happy we vote for that one? No reasons against? Okay, we'll just move on and then vote for them all at once. Okay, the second one, Code of Conduct, the time frame for making a complaint. The motion is that Legat actively engages with the Office of Local Government to seek a reduction in this current 6-month time frame prescribed in the Council Code of Conduct for complaints to be lodged.
It should be a month or something.
Well,
I personally think against, but we'll
I'm
go.
against on the basis that you can't demonstrate a pattern of behaviour as well, which sometimes you need to do.
Sometimes you need to, yes. So maybe we just take a vote on who's for this or who's against it. So whoever's for this particular motion, who wants me to vote for it, put your hand up. If you prefer I vote against it, we'll keep your hands down.
Can I ask a question first?
Yes.
What's the time frame now?
6 months.
6 months. To get all your evidence together and to prepare a code of conduct. They want 2 months.
Oh, 2 months.
2 months.
I want to bring it from 6 to 2.
Yes. So anybody who's in favour of that, put your hand up now.
No, I've misunderstood.
Okay, so Councillor Adam and Councillor, all right. And then those who are in favour of leaving it at 6 months, put your hand up. Leaving it at 6 months.
Sorry, that's what I
Yes.
thought you were
Sorry,
saying.
I'm confused,
I'm a
everybody.
little bit confused, sorry, I'm just going
My
to
mistake.
withdraw my vote altogether.
Yeah, rightio, we start again.
I'm not sure what I was
There's
voting. I thought I was voting for
I'll
something
start
else.
again. There's a vote for or vote against. So first of all, those who wish to vote for
To leave it.
reducing it.
To reduce.
For reducing it. Okay. So that's
You want to leave it as is.
for reducing it.
No, this is for, just move that one, just for the current 6 months.
Yeah, all right. Move the one that's here. No, they're actually asking for it to be reduced. That's what's here. Yeah. And the other option is,
Oh, yes, okay,
yeah,
so
the other option
reduction.
is to leave it at 6 months. How about we start with there? If you want to leave it at the 6 months, put your hand up.
Yes.
Well, that, I
This
think
is too hard for me tonight.
Okay, so that's against the motion. Fine, that's good.
Reduction in the current.
Yes, yes. Okay, the next one is that engagement occurs with the state government that engagement occurs with the state government is essential to develop a set of model bylaws. These bylaws would allow councils to customise their regulations after development.
No,
I'm on the wrong one.
Yeah, you've missed one.
2.3.
Oh, I'm sorry.
2.3.
Oh, okay, all right, I take the, beg pardon, I'll get rid of that. Gosh, all right, okay, sorry about that. All right, this is about support for a publicly owned post office bank. The Legat requests the Australian Government commission an expert panel to investigate the feasibility of establishing a publicly owned bank that utilises the branch network of Australia Post for its customer service delivery.
We've already got it.
We've already got that?
Yeah,
Well, I thought we had, but
sort of, yeah.
yeah. So do you want to vote for it or against it? It's going to be a motion that's there.
Well, can you ask the question about, when it comes up, ask the question, haven't we already got that? And if they say no, then vote for it.
Yeah, I think.
Everyone happy with that?
Well, I think they're trying
Vote
to
for
make
it,
sure
yeah.
they got banks, you know.
Yeah. And that's for particularly for towns that haven't got the Bendigo Bank.
I'll only just speak for a moment.
Yes.
My assumption on that was that we know that the post office have got banks, but they're not aligned to one bank. They're all banks. You can go there and bank in Commonwealth, Westpac, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
I think what they want to do here is that they want the Australian government to actually make another bank that's going to be a publicly owned bank, owned by the government, that uses the branches networks of Australian Post. That's what they want to do.
Because not all post offices have got banks.
They want to start a new bank. That's what the motion is.
They're agents for
That's
the
how I
banks.
read it as well, I don't know.
Right.
So everyone's happy for us to vote for it?
Yes, 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 yes. Any chance?
It's only to investigate. Yes, okay. All right, now we'll get on to bylaws. That engagement occurs with the state, government is essential to develop a set of model bylaws. These bylaws would allow council to customise their regulations after development, minimising the current bureaucratic obstacles, currently significant barriers in creating and implementing parking and regulatory bylaws prevent small councils from developing their own regulations. In favour of it. Everyone
Yes.
in favour of it? No one's against, right? Okay, that's fine.
Breaks down some of that
Yes.
real difficulties.
Yes, they're only models and we can all get guided by them. The next one is around a proposed amendment to the local government meeting procedures, Regulation 15, retrospective leave of absence for council meetings. The Legat seek an amendment of the local government meeting procedures to be amended to allow councillors to seek leave of absence retrospectively in emergency situations. Everyone's happy?
Does it have a list of what they consider to be emergency situations?
In the attachments it'll be.
Well-deserved holiday.
Is there a time frame around that retrospective?
Oh, there's a point.
Because, you know,
Time
how
frame.
far are we going to allow that
The
retrospective?
baby's birth.
You don't always know when that's going to happen.
Death in the family.
Yeah, true. That's very true.
That's true.
Yes, yes. So we should ask the question about timeframes. I didn't notice that in the. Just write it down. Okay. All right, thank you. Sorry.
So would that be four?
That's four, yes, yes. There'll no doubt be lots of arguments and fors and against. Okay, a motion proposed to change the local government meeting procedures, video conferencing attendance at council meetings. The Legat requests that Tasmanian Government amend the local government meeting procedures regulations to allow councillors to attend council meetings via video conferencing in emergency or other special circumstances.
Yeah, I've talked to other councillors from different areas about this, and they've come up with some really good ideas, you know, to allow it to happen, say, twice a year or whatever. If you was away on business, that you could come to a council meeting through Zoom or whatever means. Like, we did it in COVID. I can't see why we couldn't do it here. I reckon it's a good motion to support, because any one of us could be away on holidays or overseas for business or whatever, and it just allows you to attend the meeting.
Councillor Adams and then Councillor
The
Terry.
thing is when people vote, and it's electronic vote, so, and with AI starting and people just being, there could be some trouble. In general principle, I would agree. I don't know if it should be the norm. I think if people are away, and some people would be travelling maybe with their work, and it would make life a bit easier for them as a councillor. So, you know, I'm sympathetic, but I can also see some issues that could emerge, you know.
Councillor Terry.
Yeah, my concern with that one is basically if, with confidential matters and not knowing who else is in the room. Although I do see some benefits if you live a long way from the council and you have trouble getting transport up, it could address that. I think it's worthy of investigation, but there are a lot of problems here.
I guess the key words are emergency or
Yeah,
other special
or
circumstances.
Yeah. So you're happy to vote for it?
Yeah, I'll vote against it.
You'll vote against it, but the majority,
Yeah, I'm
not happy? No, okay.
in favour at this point in time.
All right, those who are happy for me to vote for it, put your hand up.
In emergency and.
In emergency and special circumstances. That's 4-3, yep, okay, I'll vote for. Oh, lost my little marker now.
Sorry, was that 4?
Yes, 4, yes, yes. Okay, the next one is a review of the cat management legislation. There's a whole lot of, I hope people have read it, there's a whole lot of best practice.
I'm really advocating for 4. This is something I've been working on for some time about feral cat problems. The Midlands is the hotspot of Australia on feral cats. And just getting the cat management, I think it has to go further as far as feral cats. We don't do enough in this state. There's no coordinated approach. There's pittance of money given to it. We have to do something about cats in this state. Toxoplasmosis, to give you an idea, in the Midlands, the research has now shown that in some flocks of sheep in the Midlands area is as high as 45% with toxo and sarco, that can affect people's women. It's probably most well known about pregnancy, but it also can affect people psychologically. It affects wildlife. The whole thing is just horrendous, and I was looking at bringing some back to council on this as well, but so I'm really advocate for on this one.
Everybody else is happy for 4?
Yes, provided that the state government is going to fund it adequately.
That's exactly right.
It has to be adequately funded.
Yes.
It can't be a cost-shifting exercise because councils in general can't afford to spend the amount of money that needs to be spent. Absolutely support this motion.
There's nothing in it that actually says who's funding it. It's just saying shared responsibility.
Perhaps debate for us, Mayor, the fact that there needs to be that.
I'd just like to say something.
Yes, absolutely.
I think they've put a lot of emphasis on other cat management other than the feral cats, where I believe the main trouble. A lot of pressure on the bandicoots in our region here as well from feral cats. And there's also nothing here about spaying cats, which is one of the big issues that you need to, and pensioners and people being able to afford to do that. To have their cat. So, I mean, those are the practical issues that need to be covered. If you can cover the fee or half a fee of a vet's cost, then you're really making things happen. But there's nothing here that really deals with those real practical. And this is, cat management's been on the agenda for 40 years.
So if we want to make an amendment to it, sorry, Councillor Goss, if we want to make an amendment to it to add that the state government contribute the funded, yes, and that spaying is included. Okay.
Sorry, you might add that in.
Yeah, well, yes, somehow or other.
It's their agenda, so.
It's their agenda. No, we can move a motion. We can move a motion to it. We can move an amendment.
The Mayor would move that.
Yeah, an added amendment. Councillor Goss is next.
I just think that being part of a regional Tasmania, we're in the regional area, in the country area, that's where a lot of the cat management issues are, because the cities, when they had enough of their cattle, I don't want to pick on them.
They do though. I know
they bring it out to the country and let it go, and they get in. And Northern Midlands got the cat problem we've got because of that. So, I mean, I just like the city councils recognise that what issues we've got in the regional areas, what it's like, and that's something that's probably not mentioned here. I mean, it's the same when we come down to the cost. I don't know whether current city council would have the cost that we're going to impose on us if they did something like this, because they mightn't have the cats dumped in their areas like we get it dumped here. So I think that's something they need to. The funding is so important that we have that, and especially for the regional councils and all the ones across Tasmania which are in those bordering urban areas. They're the ones that are suffering a lot of the costs for this. They're farmers. The animals that live in the community. Oh, Council's already mentioned. I don't have to mention again. Thank you.
And they dump them in the forestry areas, and the little animals get killed out there.
In paddocks where sheep are having lambs.
Exactly. Yes, Councillor Terry.
Point. If you do capture a feral cat, which is pretty easy to do, if you don't have a gun, you've got to take it to Hobart or Launceston to dispose in a human. The Act actually prescribes you have to dispose of it in a humane way. There's no way that I would take a feral cat that far from the northern Midlands all the way to. We need a cat facility in the central part of the state for rural people, so that there is one way of facilitating the removal and actually even more methods of trapping cats. It needs to be funded as a much broader thing, but
Get him in the bag,
we
mate.
got one of my.
We did have a lady in Campbelltown once who kept catching lots of cats, and then we had to dispose of them. That was a very difficult issue. Cost a fortune. Okay, the next one, 2.8. That's a 4, yes. Creation of statutory rights of carriageway over Crown land reserves. The Legat requests the state government to urgently amend the Crown Lands Act 1976 to establish automatic statutory rights of access over Crown Reserve Road for all landowners to access their adjoining properties that have reserve roads accessing their properties as proposed in the Crown Lands Reserve Road Position Paper July 2009 to provide certainty of access to landowners generally and for the purposes of meeting access requirements under the Tasmanian Planning Scheme.
I think some of this goes back to the old forestry roads, which you are aware of and affect you. And and I think this is just trying to get what they said they were going to do, and they've never done it really.
Yes, very important. I hope everyone's happy if we vote yes for that.
Aren't they already doing it?
They're supposed to, but it doesn't happen always.
Yes, vote for.
Yeah. Good. The next one is development assessment panels. That Legat informed the state government that local governments, there's 2 options here. They're giving us an option, and depending on the room, then they'll put the second one. That Legat informs the state government that local government supports the government's development assessment panels legislation only if the eligible development applications are limited to social and affordable housing, and applications for over $1 million if the council is the applicant and the planning authority. So we vote for or against, and then depending on the room, if that's voted down, they're going to put another motion.
I think it's showing the point that the state government hasn't fast-tracked social or housing, but they're quite willing to do it for developers on hotels and other things. So it highlights that. So I support it, and if that one doesn't get up, the other one, yeah.
So everyone's
$1 enough.
Yeah, I support it.
support it. Everyone in general supports it.
I'll just
Yes.
note that we actually sent the letter, a submission saying that we don't support it at all.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Well, that's the second motion.
Yep.
Yes, if so, that's kind of what Legat's thinking, because they've got the message loud and clear from most councils that they don't want to support it.
So then why would we be saying yes to it if we've sent a letter saying that we don't support it?
Okay, we can vote against that one and
My
then just vote
second
for the
point
next
would
one.
be, the legislation comes up tomorrow, doesn't it? Or this week in Parliament.
Was it that soon?
Oh, wait, am I correct?
Very, very quick.
I think it is this
Being
week.
introduced and first.
Haven't we missed the boat here? How are they going, how is Legat, we're not dealing with this until
They've already
Thursday.
put,
And we're not dealing with this till Thursday. So how is this motion, whatever the outcome of the motion is, going to then have an impact on what's happening at a state government level, and or how are they going to feed that information from the conference back to?
Well,
they have put a
or is this just to strengthen that?
yes, I believe so. They've put a submission in on behalf of all councils because of what they've got from us in general at various meetings. So I'm just going to ask you first, sorry, Councillor Adams, if we vote against the first one and get that knocked down, then we can vote for the one that says, the other one. So I'll take out that and put against.
Yeah, because
Yes.
we did actually.
Yes, and then we're getting what we actually have put in our submission. I'll just read it out, Councillor Adams, and then you can have your say. The Legat informs the state government the local government rejects the government's development assessment legislation, but remains open to a well-designed development assessment panel's proposal in concept as a potential tool to resolve specific assessment problems. Now, Councillor Adams.
I think the debate will go on for some time. It'll have to go through the House of Assembly, and it'll have some difficulties there. Maybe, but it'll certainly have a good debate. But then the upper house will probably
They'll still want input.
So I reckon that's a week or two away.
So against the first one and for the second one. Okay, That's fine. The draft Legat's strategic plan and annual plan, has everyone had a bit of a read of them? Vote for those. And from now on, I think it's just we note.
Yep.
Yeah, so we don't need to worry about those. All right, so I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Right, what's next? Yeah, I think so. Yes, 15.1, the monthly financial statement. Councillor Adams is moving. And Councillor Terrett seconding. Any questions about the financial statement, financial report? No, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? Carried. One sheet is done, yes. Let's go on to the next one. Nope, not too far. Rightio. 16.2. A notice to change a local highway, a closure of 505 metre section of Yule Road, Perth. And there's a recommendation that council pursuant to the Local Government Highways Act 1982 close a 505 metre section of Yule Road, Perth from the intersection of Edwards to Cromwell Streets, as described within this report, to vehicular traffic in order to upgrade the stormwater drainage and to develop the area as a public open space for recreation, including shared pathways. Councillor Terrett's moving. I'll second. Terrett's moving and Elaine was seconding. Do you wish to speak, anybody?
Just very quickly, I think this will actually add a lot of benefit, particularly that side of Perth. And it's going to be a really good thing. Even we could look at some other recreational activity. We've got a road there, we could even use that as a cycleway for children even. And there's lots of things we could look at. It's a growing population, so let's use it effectively. It's really pleased to see this.
Can I just ask the works manager, there was a concern raised about Cromwell Street, about the increased traffic on Cromwell Street. Do you know whether that, any more about that?
No, it was only the one called in after Burberry, just to say there's going to be more traffic in Cromwell Street, which we already, I suppose, knew as part of the first report. Had no one else to come forward at all.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm very much supportive of this. I think this is a great opportunity for this area in Perth, and we should embrace it. And there are lots of great ideas that could come from this. So, yeah, fully support.
I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Okay, we'll move into closed council.